This show may and will contain adult language. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to Sundays with Dwayne. It's Sunday and it's me.
Well, isn't that special?
All right, hope you guys had a good week. I did. But this past week has been chock full of nuts and a few loonfish thrown in for good measure, and you'll know what I'm talking about as we go. Some very serious stuff to start with. This past week, we had a tragedy in Charleston, South Carolina, where some whack job with a gun, who also happened to be white, went into a mainly black church, the Emmanuel AME Church, where he prayed with these folks for over an hour, and then he opened fire, killing 9 innocent victims. He left a 10th alive to tell the tale. Now, this perp, and I'm not going to say his name because I don't want the little bastard to have any publicity, has been captured. He was captured this past Thursday. The Department of Justice, the good old DOJ, is going to look into this as a hate crime, and rightly so, because it was. But I'm also looking at it as something else. This is a crime that some mentally unstable punk who happened to get his hands on a gun decided to go out and start killing people. Now, the gun was a 45 cal Glock. Now, I've heard two different stories. I heard that he got the gun from his father for his 21st birthday, and then I also have heard that he got money for his birthday from his father, and he went out and bought the gun himself. Either way, this evil little troll decided to go kill some people because apparently he's a white supremacist, and he did some research on this church prior to making the decision to go in and kill these folks. Premeditated. Now, of course, everyone on the left is blaming the access to the gun. I mean, the left went ballistic, pardon the expression, on Thursday, essentially blaming guns for the deaths of these 9 people in this church. Of course, I blame the fact that he's a sick, twisted individual who wanted to kill innocent lives. There are some really sick and evil people out there, folks, and sometimes they look very normal until after the fact. It's usually not until after that you see the true evil etched upon their faces. Now, what the left won't tell you is that 50% of those who commit crimes, hate crimes, in this country, are under the age of 25 years old. Many of them are frequently male. They're usually very self-absorbed, usually socially inept. They feel like the world has screwed them over and it's just totally screwed up, and they decide they need to fix it. Now, these studies also show that males and females under the age of 25, the brains are not fully developed. Rush Limbaugh always called them young skulls full of mush, and I truly am believing that to be the case here. The studies all show this kind of stuff, but the left will not blame mental illness here. They want to blame the gun. So let's just say he didn't have a gun. Let's say he went into this church with knives or swords, machetes, and killed all these people. Do you think maybe the left would be wanting to ban knives, swords, and machetes right now? What if he had taken gasoline and poured it inside this church with them trapped inside of it and lit a match and caught it on fire and burned them alive, do you think they would want to be banning gasoline and matches about now? No. If he drove his car through the church and run all these people over, would the left be wanting to ban automobiles at this point? No. So why is it that every time some criminal uses a gun, they want to blame the gun and ban it? It's very simple. The left wants to get rid of the Second Amendment. They want to get rid of your constitutional right to protect yourself. That way they have the guns, you don't, and then we all know what happens from there. All we have to do is look back at Nazi Germany pre-World War II when they were registering guns and giving license to these guns, and then suddenly they knew where everyone had guns and they went and confiscated them. And, well, do you think maybe they're trying to repeat history here? Just saying. It's easy for these anti-gun loonfish to take a tragedy like this and turn it into a reason to disarm all law-abiding citizens. None other than our glorious faux leader, the community organizer in chief, jumped into that fray, basically wanting more gun laws. How many gun laws would have prevented this tragedy from happening? Zero. We have young people out there who are mentally ill, who are drugged up, and apparently this kid was on some kind of psycho drug that had made him have violent tendencies. We have people out there just plain nut jobs and they want to kill people. They don't care what color they are. They don't care what religion they are. They don't care who or what. They're sick, twisted puppies and they want to kill people. And these people should be institutionalized instead of out on the streets. But instead, we blame an inanimate object for what a killer does. If he had gone in there with a frickin' screwdriver, he could have killed those people. But there would not be a call to ban screwdrivers at this point. When is the left going to put the blame where it truly lies? Not anytime soon, I'm sure. I'll tell you one thing, the lack of gun education in schools plays a big part in this. They used to have gun classes in the schools, and guess what? You didn't have mass killings like this. Maybe we should teach kids what guns can and will do if they're used and used improperly, and maybe some of this shit wouldn't be happening. Maybe if the parents stop letting their kids play these violent video games where they're shoot 'em up, first person shooters and stuff, they go in and start blowing away bozos. Am I blaming the video games? No, I'm blaming the parents there for lack of information, lack of concern. If the father did buy this gun for this kid, the father is just as guilty as the kid is, as far as I'm concerned, because he should have known his son was nuts. If he gave his son money and didn't know that the kid went out and bought a gun, then he bought the gun illegally because he had no record up until now. So there's no gun laws that could have fixed this. The kid knew what he was doing. It was premeditated. He ought to die by firing squad, hopefully. But I'll take the electric chair and hope they get it wrong and they have to do it several times, like 9 times, just to make sure. Lethal injection would be too good for this little bastard, if you ask me. You know, we don't teach gun safety in the schools, but by God, we teach global warming and the joys of socialism. Maybe if we started teaching the kids what these guns can really do, There would be a whole lot less of this shit to talk about in this country. Now, I was looking at this study, this 25 and under study of violent crimes. And this just isn't an American thing. Contrary to what the community organizer in chief has said, this shit happens all over the world. Google it. You'll find it. I did. You take a look at these terrorists out here. Most of them are under 25, and they've been fed a bunch of bullshit, and they believe it. Much like what's going on in the school systems in this country. So they go and they start blowing themselves and others up in the name of their religion. I'm not going to mention which religion that is. I think most of you already know. These people, these young people, are susceptible to the teachings of others who are older and know better, apparently. Part of me wants to say this is a conspiracy. That our school systems have been dumbed down by our leftist government for this kind of shit to happen. That way they can take guns away. But what better way? What better way to have people say, oh, we don't want guns anymore? Take a look at England. In the past 10 years that they have had zero guns on the street, crime has gone up 89 frickin' percent. Now, I'm reminded of a story, and I talked about this on the old One Man's Opinion show. This woman who didn't turn in her gun shot someone trying to break into her home to steal things and to rape her. Guess who went to prison? The woman did. This elderly woman went to jail, and this crook, he got off and he got money for it. Coming to America, folks. Coming to America. But I'll get off my high horse now. In true traitor fashion this week, it seems that Obama trade is alive and well. The TAA, the Trade Adjustment Assistance thing, the Trade Promotion Authority, the TPA. Last week, they overwhelmingly rejected Obama trade by voting against all the key provisions in it. Well, now it seems like Paul Ryan, the rhino from Wisconsin, used the Nancy Pelosi method. You know, you have to pass it before you find out what's in it approach. Now, the Senate isn't expected to take TPA up until next week, but Majority Leader Mitch the Bitch McConnell, the rhino from Kentucky, expressed confidence that it will pass. Obama trade is making for unusual bedfellows in Washington, if you ask me. Barack Obama is working with McConnell and House Speaker John Bonehead Boehner, the other rhino from Ohio, to pass this measure that the Democrats largely reject. I said it last week that I'm standing with the Democrats on this one, that it should not pass, but I'm afraid that it will. I mean, I don't want it to pass because we know how wonderful Obamacare has turned out. So Obama trade should really screw the American worker better and faster than ever imagined before. All right, switching gears, a little lighter news. Brian Williams, who was suspended by NBC this past February for telling a bit of a falsehood. Okay, he lied outright, okay? That he had come under fire on a helicopter during the Iraq War. He's not going to be returning to the anchor chair at NBC Nightly News. Now, this was reported on CNN on Wednesday. It looks like Lester Holt will take the job permanently, being the first black male to hold that post permanently. Congratulations to Lester Holt. But it looks like Brian Williams will be farmed out to MSNBC, where he can lie to all 17 of its viewers. And what I've already heard, that MSNBC is already crying foul because it is going to diminish their reputation. Oh, I shouldn't laugh at that. All right, we're going to take Oh, I'm going to lose it today, I'm sure. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
This portion of our program is brought to you by the following sponsor.
Let's face it, generic hand soaps are all the same. They're the bottom of the barrel rejects that the big soap companies throw away. Well, there is an alternative to those boring hand soaps you see in your local grocery store. While some claim to be top notch and better values, we just call ourselves Pretty Good. Pretty Good Industries presents our new Pretty Good hand soap. Try it and see if your family says, "Hey Mom, that's pretty good." Take our Pretty Good Fresh and Clean hand soap. It's perfect for your family. "Gee, honey, this hand soap is pretty good." "Thanks, baby. I opened the package and put it on the sink. It's that simple." "What's this brown stuff?" "That's Pretty Good filler. It's made of mostly recycled soap left in motel rooms across America. It has some body hair, soiled butt wipes, and a dash of animal vomit for color." That's pretty good. So next time you're in your grocer's hand soap aisle, look for Pretty Good hand soap. Ask for it by name. Pretty Good hand soap, another life-altering product from Consolidated Cybernetics Corporation of America, CCCOA, Buzzard Bait, Kentucky.
And now for something completely different.
Let's talk about Rachel Dolezal, shall we? You know who she is, the transracial woman who was recently the head of the NAACP in Spokane, Washington. Now, black leaders and prominent African American media figures are weighing in on Ms. Dolezal. Of course, she resigned after being accused of lying about her race. You think? She told NBC's Matt Lauer on the Today Show this past Tuesday that she identifies herself as black. And then she did another interview later that day with NBC's Savannah Guthrie, and she reiterated, "I definitely am not white. Nothing about being white describes who I am." Okay, before we go any further, let's explore the past history of this woman, this loonfish, Miss Dolezal. While she was living as white, Miss Dolezal sued Howard University, a predominantly black university, for discrimination based on the fact she was a white, pregnant woman. Then, while she was living as black, she reported numerous hate crimes, and the police believe that many of them, if not all, were fabricated. Apparently, she's either trying out for politics because she's been flip-flopping her race, or she's trying out for Brian Williams' old job.
Right.
I mean, she's been fabricating stories on who she really is. At this point, I don't even know if she knows who she is. But before we judge this woman, let's hear from actual black people to see what they think. Former daytime talk show host Montel Williams said in a Facebook post, "The truth is, she lied. And I hope she gets the help she so clearly needs. This isn't trans race as much as it's sans honesty." Now, Montel Williams has 4 biracial children, by the way. And he further explains, "My kids could identify as white, black, or biracial and be honest in doing so. I think people should have some freedom of self-identification, provided that identification is built on a platform of honesty." So apparently Montel Williams thinks she's lying. But to the contrary, NBA Hall of Famer Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the former Blue Owl Cinder, apparently is defending Miss Dolezal. In Time magazine, he asked, "Does it really matter whether Rachel Dolezal is black or white?" That's why I was playing the Michael Jackson bit there. Now, there's other people in here you may have heard of, may have not. Also from the Time magazine article, we have author Tamara Winfrey Harris, who points out the average African American is roughly a quarter white. But even brown-skinned people, or black people for that matter, with significant European ancestry cannot become white, she wrote. Who would accept President Obama, I have trouble saying that, raised by a biologically white mother and grandparents, as a white man? Precisely no one. She also added, I will accept Miss Dolenzahl as black like me only when society can accept me as white like her. Aha! The plot thickens. Now, as you probably know, Dolenzahl's biological parents are white. And last week they disclosed their daughter is white, but has been posing as African American, sparking the ethics investigation by the NAACP and basically touching off a national debate over racial identity. Al Sharpton even jumped into this. He said, on one level, you've got to say to her, you're misleading us. But on another level, Mom and Dad, come on.
Inconceivable!
As always, Sharpton is on the fence, waiting for an opportunity to make money off of it.
Bogus.
I'm going to go off what comedian Dave Chappelle had to say about it. He said the world's become ridiculous. There's a white lady posing as a black lady. There's not one thing this woman accomplished that she couldn't have done as a white woman. There's no reason. She just needed the brains. Needless to say, this woman sparked national outrage and debate on racial matters here in the United States. She also appears to be someone who enjoys the limelight and doesn't mind being called a liar. Actually, she should run for office. She'd fit right in with most of the Democrats and Republicans on Capitol Hill. Now, before I go any further, I have to put this disclaimer out here. I did not make this up. I actually read it on a Facebook post. Someone called her incognegro instead of transracial. Now, just to let you know, there's also a movement in America that I have been looking at and shaking my head at, by the way, called hashtag wrong skin. These are white people who obviously are feeling guilty about their apparent white privilege. They wish to be identified as black, like Miss Dolenzahl. And in a related story, Rush Limbaugh now wishes to be referred to as skinny. Greg Gutfeld wishes to be referred to as a hairless ferret. And I wish to be referred to as your Royal Highness. All right. I got to move into this quick because we're running out of time. Donald Trump threw his toupee, his hat, into the GOP ring to become the nominee for president. There's a lot of things I could say, but look, I like Trump. He's richer than 3 foot up a bull's ass and not ashamed of it. Does he have a chance at winning? I don't know. I do know he has the ego the size of Manhattan. But that's not a problem, seeing our current faux president seems to have that problem too. Now, over on the Democrat side, you've got Bernie Sanders, the avowed socialist, who wants to tax the rich at 90%. And then there's Hillary Clinton calling taxes now revenue enhancements. She wants to raise taxes in some draconian fashion, just like Bernie Sanders does. Well, except for all the donors to her and the DNC, and her rich buddies. And then, of course, herself and Bill. But everyone else, look out. Because anyone making more than minimum wage will be taxed to death under these two. So here's my question. What's so wrong with being rich and proud of it? It's the American freaking dream we're talking about here. People starting their own businesses, making money, maybe employing others and paying them to make the products they're selling. Then they become richer and they hire more people and more people paying them to work so they can get a piece of the American dream pie that the left says is smaller and smaller when people get richer and richer. I say it's a load of pure bullshit. Or if I want to be politically correct, bovine biomass. The left, mainly the socialists, the fascists, and the communists, who are in the guise of American politicians, always create class envy when most of them are the very upper class they pretend to hate. These rich, mainly white, elitists and statists are telling poor people you can no longer achieve the American dream because of rich, evil Republicans. Bullshit, I tell you. And these are the same people who are as rich, if not richer, than those on the right. They're the same bastards that give less to charities because the taxpayers should shoulder that burden, not them. They will lie through their teeth and tell you that the American dream is impossible today because you happen to be of a certain color or ethnicity. Tell that to Ben Carson or Samuel L. Jackson. Tell that to J-Lo or Antonio Banderas. Tell that to Ice-T or Charles Barkley. They all used the talents God gave them and did something besides hold their hand out to Uncle Sam for a living. So when they tell you the American dream is dead, look them right in the eye and tell them how full of bullshit they are. Now I'm going to give you a prime example. My wife and I, we're living the American dream. And without a drop of government money to go along with it. Now, for the past 5 years, we've been building our own business. And it's about to grow again. Why? Well, for one thing, my wife works 60 to 80 hours a week. And I work too. I do the stuff that she can't do, the stuff that she doesn't have time to do. I kind of enjoy it. Now, I can't tell you what we do. I can't go into any details because basically I'd be bragging at this point. But needless to say, being self-employed is the best job I've ever had. And being sexually harassed by the boss isn't too bad either. Okay. All right. I got to get off the humor here real quick. I got to get very serious. Got some cancer news to talk about. Tommy Chong.
Hey, you want to get high, man?
Does Howdy Doody got wooden balls, man?
Tommy Chong, one half of the comedy duo of Cheech and Chong, who happens to be 77 years old at this point, is battling cancer once again. He was diagnosed with prostate cancer, if you remember, back in 2012. In an interview with Us Weekly this past week, I think on this past Tuesday, he said he's undergoing treatment for rectal cancer. Cancer sucks, man, and it doesn't matter who you are, how much money you've got, it will come after you. Luckily, it doesn't run in my family. I haven't had to worry about it, but it's still good to go have it checked every now and then. So prayers go out to Tommy Chong and his family. Speaking of cancer and prayers, I'm not authorized to do this, but by God, I'm going to do it anyway because he's my friend. I don't know if you guys have Rusty Burns, the guitarist for Point Blank, as a friend, but you should because he is one hell of a musician. And he's going through a rough patch right now with his health. Could be cancer. They're waiting for the PET scans and all that to find out for sure. So I'd like all of you to say a prayer, not only for Tommy Chong and his family, but also Rusty Burns and his wife and his family and friends. Because it doesn't just affect the person who has cancer, it affects everybody they know. You know, cancer, like I said, it sucks. I've known several people in my life who have had cancer, mainly women who have had to have double mastectomies. I've got an adopted sister's going through chemo right now. She's always in my prayers. Cancer sucks, and hopefully at some point they will find cures for this shit. If cancer runs in your family, go have a checkup. Just saying. Okay, my time's up. Thank you for yours. We will see you here again next Sunday. Until then, have a great week.